This is going to be a very different video. It's almost like a guide. We're going to be looking back at one of my very early Granblue Fantasy Versus matches, and I think this is something that a lot of players who are trying to get better at the game should do. You should look at your matches and see what you could have done differently. This video is applicable to all kinds of players, but if you're a brand new player to fighting games, you do need to know what a DP is. DP stands for Dragon Punch. It's an old Street Fighter move. You've probably heard of it. A Shoryuken is a DP. Anything invincible and usually instant on wake up. This type of move is often used to catch people out of the air. It's often used to catch people as soon as you wake up if they're trying to hit you. The downside of using a DP is that it's usually very negative on block. So if your opponent knows you're doing it, well, they're going to get a full combo on you. The match that we're going to be watching is one of the first matches after I initially decided I wanted to main Gran completely, and it was against a Charlotta. And I think we can all learn a little bit from this match, so let's take a look. And because this is such a new type of video for me, I'd really appreciate it if you watched all the way through and perhaps maybe even left a like. I start the match off with my projectile because I think it's a pretty good option against all of Charlotta's available options. We both wait to react to each other. She tries to go for her forward special. I go for my projectile, which obviously puts a stop to that. I make a pretty bad mistake here. I see her jump and I thought she was going for a jump in attack, so I reacted with my DP. This actually would have been a fine response to a jump in, but Charlotta's jump arc doesn't leave her in the sky for very long and it does not travel very far horizontally, so I was always going to whiff this DP from that range. She was just trying to get closer to me and I misread it as a jump in attack. I'm left in the corner now, not exactly a spot I want to be in. I used my enhanced projectile because I figure it's going to give me one of two things. Either it's going to hit the enemy and we're going to be back in the middle of the stage, which is where I want to be, or she's going to block it and then I can apply some block pressure with a block string. It ends up hitting, so now we're back in the middle of the stage. She makes a mistake here. She's actually completely fine to block this entire string, but instead she tries to switch sides, and because I'm of course mashing for my auto combo, my attack auto corrects and redirects her, and now she's the one in the corner. Here with my jump in, I'm trying to fake a block string and then go into a grab. My opponent either sees right through that or they're just mashing, it's hard to tell. Regardless, she makes her way out of the corner because of it. She actually catches me a couple times here, first with the sweep and then a couple times with her forward special. At this point, I'm panicking a little bit because she did take the lead here. So when I see her running up, I'm expecting her to do a low combo string. She actually goes for a super jump. And like I said, Charlotta gets a lot of height on that, so my DP completely fails. Not the end of the world, we're back in neutral now. Though I do think I should have used the regular DP just in case I did end up in a weird situation like that where I did miss, and that way I would have less lag and I would have been able to respond sooner. She's got me in a block string now. She ends up blocking my first light, but my second light does go through, however I'm too far away to continue the combo. I went back and checked because I was mildly curious whether medium or heavy would have connected here, and sadly neither of them would have been enough to continue the combo either. But what I could have done is I could have linked the light attack into a special move. In this case, it would have been best to do my down or back special. That just comes with inexperience. I would be able to do that now, but at the time, it wasn't something I was ready to do. I end up getting her in a block string off of a jump in. I end that with a dumb online trick. I use my back special and I enhance it. People see this and they assume that it's going to be a safe block string, but it's actually not even close. You can punish this for free. If you see someone do this online, just punish it. In this case, it was enough to spook my opponent into continuing to block, at least long enough to allow me to block her response. At this point, we're basically in neutral again. I know that Charlotta isn't likely to go for a jump in, mainly again because of that jump arc. So I throw out my empowered projectile, which ends up beating her forward special, and now she's in the corner. At this point, I think she's in kill range. She isn't, but that's what I'm thinking at the time. So I go for my jump in combo. I think she tried to DP here. I did actually notice this at the time, so I considered that a DP, and therefore considered her a more likely player to use a DP in similar situations. It's an important thing to keep in mind as you play, respond to what your opponent's doing. Obviously, my jump in beats her down special, which leads to me getting my Skybound art. I'm completely shocked she lives here because at the time I thought Skybound arts did way more damage than they actually do. I'm completely flustered and frankly I make a big mistake. I walk up and I try to grab her, but my opponent wakes up with a super. And of course, that kills me. From that first round, I'm now guessing that my opponent is going to wake up super or wake up DP a lot when they're in the corner. It's the only thing I've seen them do when they're under pressure. They always do a DP, or in this case, they did a super, which I'm basically considering a DP. I start the next round with my empowered projectile. I don't actually think this is a good option anymore, but at the time, my thought process was, well, I'm either going to get more damage or I'm going to get more block pressure. But now, I think the cooldown hurts Gran far too much, and I don't think you will see me ever start a round with an empowered projectile, at least you'll see me do it very rarely. The cooldown difference is actually insane. After that, I go for a jump in. She does her forward special, so we both look like idiots. I think this is kind of interesting. She goes for a jump in, she fakes it, so she doesn't actually do an attack. I respond to her jump in with a DP, and she could have actually blocked that DP and punished me, but after she faked the jump in, she went for a low jab. It ends up costing her the first hit of the round, and I've now put her in the corner. Something to keep in mind next time you go for a fake jump in attack. Don't just attack straight afterwards. I go for my own jump in, which does get DP'd, confirming my suspicions about her being a frequent DP'er. I did try to block this jump in. I don't remember what happened because I didn't block it. Maybe I tried to DP, but I couldn't because the cooldown was up. I end up eating the combo, a bit of block pressure. I go for the sweep, expecting her to move forward. I try for a jump in, but she does a super jump, so again, we both look like idiots. Her more so than me because she lands behind me, setting up for my full combo, including the wall bounce. Again, the game is fairly new, and I wasn't ready to get the wall bounce. I didn't think I was close enough to the edge of the stage. In this case, I was. But I don't get to follow up because I wasn't ready to do so. My jump in attack whiffs, and again, she does another DP. She jumps over me. I'm not sure why she does that here. I try to do my full combo here, but I didn't notice my cooldowns. I get my react on the jump in with my DP. At this point of the game, I've got the read on the DP. I know that this person wants to DP as much as possible. I see that the cooldown's about to be up, and instead of going in for what I normally would, I wait for her to DP. But again, it was early days of Granblue, and I forgot about the second hit of the DP, so I end up getting caught with that. We both awkwardly jab at each other here, and then we go for our forward advancing moves. Hers beats mine. Looking back at this jump in, I was thinking, why am I doing a downlight here? And I'm still not quite sure why. Maybe I was just flustered? Yeah, I'm not sure. I end up getting caught with the combo that does feature a super, and I barely live. Obviously, I'm expecting her to play quite aggressive now. She wants to finish me off quickly before I have the chance to use my super, but I figured she's more concerned about opening me up instead of blocking. So of course, I hit her with my raw super, which means no scaling, and tons of damage. So now the rounds are 1-1 and we're heading into the final round. Again, I wouldn't start off with an empowered projectile anymore, but in this case, it is what I do. Perhaps it's worth noting that she tried to do forward special. I do try to do a low combo string here, but I fall a little short as I'm running up. Chalk that up to inexperience. I end up getting DP'd. I think she was expecting me to respond with my own DP because she just walks up to me and blocks. But I do end up catching her with a combo string instead. I threw out an empty medium at the end of this combo string because I thought I was close enough to the wall for the wall bounce. I wasn't. I beat her on the air to air, and now she's in the corner again. Here she jumped, and I react far too late, and I go for the DP anyway. I remember at the time thinking that I knew I was going to be late on this, but I also remembered the fake jump in from earlier on in the set, so I threw it out anyway in hopes that she would do something silly and get caught by it anyway, and it paid off. She wakes up with her own DP, which I completely block this time, but I still make another mistake. I try to combo with a light attack, which will not work from this range. I could have used a heavy instead, which would have reached, but it would have given Charlotta enough time to block. I think the correct thing to do here is to link a special move off of the initial light attack, which is a thing you can do, and continue a combo from there. Next, we both go for some awkward jump-in stuff. I get the combo though because she pressed a slower button than I did. I end up using the empowered projectile as damage because I think the cooldown for the DP is going to be more important than the cooldown for the projectile at this point in the match. She tries for her forward special. I do try to DP it and completely miss. This is just because I didn't realize how far she was going to go back at the time. Regardless, it was a bad decision because she's safe on it anyway. We're back to neutral now. I jump forward a little bit with no intention of doing anything. She does a couple jump-ins here. I do a really late reaction on the DP, which does get fully punished, making my lead look a lot less impressive now. From this range, I want to start throwing out my projectiles, basically just to stop Charlotta from doing her forward special. She tries jumping in a lot because of those projectiles, and I do eventually catch her with my DP. And that's the end of the match. Looking back at this match, there is a lot Charlotta could have done. After all, we were all very new to the game at the time, so I don't fault her for anything here. But I do think the deciding factor of this match was that failed DP. The main reason that DP ended up failing wasn't because it was a bad spot to DP, it was because I was ready for her to do so. She had already thrown out so many DPs throughout the course of the game that in this high-risk situation, I was ready to block the whole thing. Granted, I didn't exactly get the craziest punish after that, but it's an important lesson to learn for everyone out there. DPs feel very good to use. They're invincible, they often work as a good combo tool, but despite their impressive damage and impressive utility, don't box yourself into DPing whenever you panic. Think about what your other options are in any given situation. Now, I can't tell you what the best option is for every situation, but in this case, she actually had 3 different options she could have used instead. She could have just simply walked up and grabbed me because I'm just sitting there blocking. She could either grab me and throw me towards the stage or to the corner, depending on what she wanted to do afterwards. She could have used her universal overhead button just to get a little bit of damage in and then kind of recuperate, think about what she wants to do next. But most importantly, if you were paying attention to the HUD, you would have noticed that my DP was on cooldown, which means my only anti-air option at the time was my down heavy, which is a very slow button. If I wasn't ready to react to that, and I can promise you I was not, she could have tried her hand at a jump in. On top of that, because we're so close to the corner, she could have actually jumped over me and gotten a crosser. And if she landed that, she could have gotten a wall bounce because now we're facing the corner and led to some pretty serious damage. All of these options are much preferable to whiffing a DP. This is the reason you want to mix up the things you do in response to certain things. You never want to do the same thing in the same situation too often because then your opponent's going to be ready to respond to that exact option every time. Don't be an NPC, don't be a raid boss, be a player with unique decisions. That's it for me. I've never done educational or guide content before because I never really thought it was my place. But I've been in fighting games for a while now. I think I'm pretty decent. I'm certainly not a world-class player, but I do have enough knowledge that I feel comfortable trying to pass it on to those who've been playing either for less long or even players who've been playing for a long time but have never tried taking the hobby seriously. Let me know if this type of content is for you. Again, not necessarily the thing I normally do, but it is something I'm interested in getting into in the future. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been BILBZY, and I'll be sure to catch you in the next one.